Hey, welcome to my channel. I'm going to start off a little different with basically this is my opinions alone. You're welcome to like challenge them. Don't mind. Even if I miss some, I welcome the recommendations. So please leave it in the comment section. And I do read my comments and I do respond to them when they warrant a response. But based on the fact that I've been seeing a lot of commercials coming out as of late, talking about Ridley Scott's film Gladiator 2, made me wonder. I'm like, all right, is this worth it? Is it going to be good? Is it going to be good? Is it going to be good as just as the first? Because like, let's be honest, the first with the way the first was basically, quite honestly, with Russell Crowe was by far phenomenal. And I don't know. Yeah, they have a couple of actors here that may or may not make it good. I mean, Denzel Washington should be good, but theoretically, who knows? It depends on the writing and such. So it made me wonder to a point where like, all right, you know what? How many movies out there, sequels more so, sequels that came out were good, if not better than the first, or at least matched the first, but more so was by far better than the first. And it came to me realization that like there's granted it's going to be a little tricky and dicey situation because like there are a lot of those that are series, to the point where like you have the book series and whatnot, and then like they'll put it into this, and so it's kind of hard to determine that. I mean like I'll say right now, I omitted the Jack Ryan series. Like Hunt for October was good, but Clear and Present Danger was by far phenomenal. Hunt for Patriot Games, of course, was the sequel to Hunt for Red October, by far better than that. But Clear and Present Danger, the trilogy on the third installment was better than that. I'm not going to include anything of the third installment. I'm just including only of the first, from the first to the second movie. That's why, hence the sequel, and no prequels, by the way. So it got me wondering. And like I said, this is my own personal thing basically. And so I don't want to say I took away, like you could say like even the Marvel series or DC universes, because honestly, there were some good movies that were better than this. The sequels were better than the first. And I'll describe them. One of them basically is like, you'll see is Star Trek 2, Wrath of Khan. I mean, it was by far better, and it grossed more than the original. I mean, more so to the point where the original was more so they were just coming out. Roddenberry like, let's make a movie, see how it does, and so forth. And the second one, was directed by the late Leonard Nimoy, more action packed, but more so brought back aspects of from the old series, some characters from the old series into this one, and brought up a new concept as well. So it was like, hey, planet creation and and life basically. It was a pretty, I would say. It was one of my not one of my favorites. I'll say First Contact is more so, but that's still part of the series, and still the original was Star Trek 1 with William Shatner. If it was Star Trek Generations and then First Contact, yeah, but Star Trek Generation is still a part of the Star Trek world. Hence, I can't say the Fast and the Furious because Fast and the Furious 2 don't mean any good at that point as well too. So that was one of my movies that I would say is like the sequel was better, by far better than the first. Another one I would say is Top Gun Maverick. I'll be honest, I was a little skeptical at first, but like but based on everything that was going on, like everything was going towards Marvel or more so to the comic book movie genre, and Top Gun 2 brought back what it should have been about movies. Basically, it's about like the movies itself and the storytelling, and this is an aspect where I thought the movie by far excelled than the first. I mean, yeah, let's be honest, the first was really good. But I think the second actually played a bigger factor as well too, because let's be honest, I'm always saying let's be honest quite a large number of times. But anyways, to the point where if you had to rank between 1 and 2, I mean, honestly, I would say 2 was still good. But then again, it was more recent. So, I mean, being the fact that I saw 1 as well too, I still like 1. I won't deny that. I still love 1. But I think 2 is a little bit better too. I mean, that's my matter of my opinion basically. Everyone has their own basically at that point as well too. Some people were like original, like the original Top Gun, no way Maverick could actually ever overtake Top Gun, but in reality is they did it in this situation. Now another one I thought was Captain America the Winter Soldier. Now yeah, you're gonna say, well wait, this is part of the Marvel universe. Yes, but remember, Captain America the first movie was good, but the second one, which is the Winter Soldier, I think was by far better, honestly. I mean, let's look at it from this way. Iron Man, the original, was great. Iron Man 2, not so much. I was not a fan of Iron Man 2. Iron Man 3, and I still let's say, but Iron Man 2, that was like rushed. Basically, you could tell that was rushed, and like they had no real true storytelling from that aspect because like, I think they were focusing on all the other movies and they didn't really focus too much on Iron Man 2. And this one, I think Captain America: The Winter Soldier, the fact that they focused on Bucky a little bit and added Bucky, but also created the Hydra aspect of things as well too, was I thought really what made this movie much better than the first. Because the first, yeah, it was a talking, it was basically showing how he became Captain America. But the second one, realistically, how everything's come about, and as government overreach, how much of a government agency do you want into overreach into our personal lives and such? It was great. I thought this was a interesting aspect as well too with the Winter Soldier. I mean, another movie, of course, was my personal favorite was Superman 2. Yes, Superman 1 is great. I'm not going to deny that. It was by far unbelievable when you first see it. Like, I think it was the first superhero movie that was successful in the movie theaters, in the cinemas. Superman 2, specifically the fact that you had Superman with, I mean, the other Kryptonians, Zod, for that matter. I mean, where do you get a line from? Like, you will kneel before Zod. That was kneel before Zod. I'm sorry, and that was sorry about the shouting, but like, I mean, that was a great line. But also the other aspect as well too is this is a case where like you actually see also the aspect of like Superman 2, Superman wanting to be actually human, willing to give up his superpowers, his godlike powers, to be human. And I mean, I like I said, this was I think by far I enjoyed this movie as well too more than the first one. I think it was if not better than the first, but I'm not gonna say it was the actually no I'm not gonna say that. It does definitely exceed the first when it came to gross revenue, but storytelling wise, I still like the first quite honestly more than the second. Now, of course, Spider-Man 2. Now, this is like, you could say all the different Spider-Mans. You've got Spider-Man, Sam Raimi Spider-Man. You've got the Incredible Spider-Man with, what's his name, Andrew Garfield. And then, of course, Tom Holland Spider-Man, which is partly Marvel at that point as well, too. Yeah, those were good. But Spider-Man 2, I think, by far outshone all of them. Because it's to the case where, like, this was a case where, like, you actually had, talking about Doc Ock, Spider-Man having practically losing his powers and such. It was I thought it was better than the first, quite honestly. I actually thought if I had a choice between the first and second one, I probably would have preferred the second one over the first. Now, granted, the first one was good too. I'm not going to deny that, but the second one I think was much a little bit more better. I think it had a little bit more storyline too, and the fact is, like, you actually see the aspect of where Parker or Spider-Man himself was willing to sacrifice himself, and people are finding out his identity, seeing he's a kid, etc. I mean, it was those scenes, those touching scenes from there that made it very, very interesting, more than anything else. And then, of course, there's the other movie that I would say it's a little old school, but yeah, you could say, hey, there's a bunch of them. But come on, man, James Bond, the second movie, From Russia with Love, I think that was a great movie. And if I had to rate all my Bond movies, I would say this is one of the top up there right now, to be quite honest, more than anything else. I mean, I don't compare to the original, with Sean Connery and such, but it still was by far better than the first. And I'm gonna say all the others were better than the first as well too, but I think so the first actually still was good too. And I'm not gonna deny that. But it's a case where, like, I would say From Russia with Love, the James Bond series, part of James, Ian Fleming's book series, I think this still works out from that perspective. Now, Toy Story 2. You can't deny Toy Story 2 was good, just as good, if not better than the first. Now, Toy Story 3 by far outshone them all. But the problem was Toy Story 3 is not a sequel. It's a sequel to number 2, and it's a threequel. It's a threequel, quite honestly. And we're talking about sequels, not threequels. So, Toy Story 2, I think, still was better than the first. I don't want to say it was better than the first. It's not better than the first, but it's still ranked, like, for me, basically, it's like evened out. They even out each other, basically, at that point. And I thought it was great from that perspective that you had Buzz Lightyear coming to terms who he is. And then, you have in the secondary character with what's her name. And, basically everything that's related to Woody versus Buzz. First movie was more about Buzz, new toy and such. The second one was like nostalgia toys and such, which was pretty good, I thought, from my perspective. And then, of course, then there's Before Sunset. Now, if you've never seen, it's part of the trilogy, of course, the Before trilogy. You got the Before Sunrise and then Before Sunset. Before Sunrise is by far really good. I thought Before Sunset was even better than the Before Sunrise. I mean, without seeing Before Sunrise, I don't think you can see Before Sunset. But between the two, I would say I really enjoyed Before Sunset more than anything else. Uh, it's if you haven't seen these movies, I highly recommend it. It's really impressive and really well thought out writing and such, and well acting, really good acting. That I would say yes, watch Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and then Before, I forgot the third one, but the Before series at that point. And I mean, let's be honest, The Dark Knight. I mean, it was practically close to being Oscar nominated. Now you could say there's Kevin Nolan's Batman 2, and then there's the oh, I forgot his name. Not Joel Schumacher. Forget Schumacher. But with Michael Keaton, the Batman 2 with the Penguin and such. Um, yes, that one was still good, but it wasn't good as the first one. Whereas this one, when you introduce the Joker, it definitely with Heath Ledger, with that character and what he did with that character and the way the whole genre of the movie played out. Oh, not the genre, but the way the whole plot line played out in the movie, specifically with Harvey Dent as well too. I mean, like more so to the point, you don't really introduce more than one or two villains, and this is one of those rare cases where it kind of balanced it out, similar to what it was with the Batman 2 with Keaton, Danny DeVito, and Michelle Pfeiffer. The fact that you had that's what it kind of reminded me of that, and that's why I thought this one was really good compared to the first, the Dark Knight itself, basically versus Batman Rises. I think this one, with Kevin Nolan's The Dark Knight was by far between the three that he created. The Dark Knight was by far the best one out of what he directed at that point and created too. Now, of course, you can't deny Terminator 2 Judgment Day definitely was by far better than Terminator itself. I'll admit, I watched Terminator. I was a young kid, but of course I watched it in VHS and such. But seeing Terminator 2, I think that basically a lot of the CGI you're seeing there was groundbreaking at that time. And that's why, this is why I thought Cameron, when he created Avatar 2, I was like, all right, maybe he might do something with what he did Terminator 2. Lo and behold, he can't replicate it. Terminator 2 is, one of the sequels that I think James Cameron did right. Let's be honest, this was actually something that he did right with one of his sequels. And if anything, comparing to all the other Terminator movies that he created that was released, I think Terminator 2 by far outshone them all at that point. And that's my personal opinion. And I think this was also peak Arnold Schwarzenegger as well too. So I'll leave it at that. What else? Now, when you say, sequels that are by far better than the first, you can't deny Empire Strikes Back. Honestly. Now, yeah, you could say it's like, whoa, wait, hold on. What about, Phantom Menace and Clone Wars? Yeah, but that was its own set of trilogies. This is true sequel to Star Wars Chapter 5. Before Lucas decided to come out with, the prequels, and then, of course, the threequels, the other trilogy that came out. This one, by far, let's be honest, yeah, Star Wars was great. Empire Strikes Back, just as great. Return of the Jedi, great. If not for the Ewoks, get rid of the Ewoks. It makes a much better storyline. But this was a great storyline. And the fact that, I think this is one of the rare cases where, one of the rare movies where you had a plot twist that, just was jaw-dropping. I'm like, and such. Now, I admit I was too young to see this in the movie theaters, but seeing it on VHS and such, and honestly, let's be honest, if you're a Star Wars fan, you're watching this whenever you're showing it up, you're playing it, whatever you want to be. But in any case, this was something that exceeded expectations. Is it just as good as the first? I don't want to say it's good as the first, but it's definitely there on par with it. And then when you talk about that, when I was talking about book trilogies and such, of course you can't deny, Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. Yes, the whole trilogy was unbelievable. It was great. The third one was by far the best, but the Two Towers, definitely just as good, if not better than the first. Honestly, even though it dwindled down a little bit, but this I didn't want to put it on here because it felt like that should have been just one whole movie. But the fact is, it was a trilogy and it was a sequel. It was good enough at that point. Like you had to like put this into the list, and that's why I think it's like this is one of those lists basically that has to be there at that point. And I mean, it's not something that we can put into a perspective of is it as bad? No, I think it's just as good, if not better than the first. Let's be honest with that. And then of course, when you say movies of this nature, let's be honest, The Godfather 2. I mean, if not better than the first, I mean, you would have to see the first, of course, but the fact that The Godfather 2, if you've never seen The Godfather, you've got to watch it. If you've never seen The Godfather 2, you've got to watch it. These two movies are unbelievable. Godfather 3, ignore it. I'd rather you don't watch it. It was never meant to be, but it happened. But the reality is like, I don't think I need to say much because The Godfather 2 is an unbelievable story, unbelievable storytelling. I mean, it's great how Puzo created it out as well as Scorsese, not Scorsese, Coppola, Francis Ford Coppola directed and generated, produced the movie. It was unbelievable. But from that perspective, I'll just say this: these I believe, if you think there's any that I'm missing, basically, whoa, what the? If you think there's something I'm missing, please let me know because, like, quite honestly, I didn't think I don't know, like, yeah, you could say, what about the Harry Potter? But like, the thing is, like, the Sorcerer's Stone, yes, good, but like, what was I forgot what the second movie was called. Not Prisoner of Azkaban. I mean, The Prisoner of Azkaban was the third movie. Philosopher's Stone, something. I forgot what the second one was. But in any case, I can't include the second Harry Potter movie because it wasn't as good as the first. The third one was by far better. One thing I did miss out on this one, I think I should have put on here was probably Paddington 2. Everyone said it was by far better than the first. A great family movie. I've never watched it myself personally, so I can't really say much about it. But I think it deserves to be on the list. Should it be on the list? Most likely. I just have to watch the movie to see. I have to watch the original Paddington movie as well too. I've never watched the first one and the second one, so I think I would have to watch it to see if these are good or not. But with that, I'll leave it at that. If again, my opinions, you're welcome to challenge them. You're welcome to like add some more to it and let me know more about what I missed. Basically, please leave it in the comment section. If you like this video, please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, I do ask if you could subscribe. I don't ask you to hit the notify button. You don't need to be notified, but subscribe at least. That does show up once in a while on your feed at that point. But with that, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered, unedited, of course, always unrehearsed. Until next time.